Teresa, welcome to my channel. Thank you for joining me here today. Today's video I'm going to show you how to create this beautiful decoupaged platter. I used some prints that I'd created. I spent 15 minutes creating some prints on lightweight paper. You may already have a stash in a drawer that need using up, and this is a great way of doing it. And then we finished by adding some beautiful metallic highlights in a couple of different ways. Super simple project that's ideal for creating some home decor for yourself, or these sort of projects would be great for gifts. And you know, I know it's almost September now, and a lot of you crafty people will be starting to think about Christmas gifts, and there's no time like the present to start, and this would be really good idea. So I'm going to move this out of the way, and I shall be right back and show you how it's done. To make today's project, I've pulled out some prints that I've made. Now these are nothing special, nothing fancy. Again, this is one of those projects that's great if you've got prints that you're not so keen on, that they don't really stand up by themselves. Or if you just want to spend, like I did, sort of 15-20 minutes just creating a pile of simple prints specifically for this project. Now, because we are going to be decoupaging onto a platter, for want of a better description. This is a large, it's actually paper mache, sort of decorative platter, the sort of thing that you could hang it on the wall, but you could sit it on the coffee table. And this is quite a large one, as you can see. It's let me see, 39 centimeters, so about sort of 16-17 inches in diameter. And I don't like it. It's been sat up the corner of a room doing absolutely nothing, and I thought, let's decorate it, let's create something more interesting with it that I would rather have out on display. So I made myself some prints, and because this surface has a slight curve to it, I've printed on deli paper, because deli paper is a lot more lightweight, more flexible, and I'll be able to decoupage this more smoothly onto a curved finish. If what you're decoupaging onto is completely flat, for example, I decorated a picture frame, that was earlier this year, and I'll link that up in the corner. And because that was completely flat, I could use anything. I mean, I'd got prints that were done on cardstock, paper. It didn't matter. It was all going on flat. It was fine. Because this surface here has a curve to it, I don't want it to be buckling up. I want a nice smooth finish. And so bear that in mind, especially if you're doing something that's even more curved than this. Maybe you want to decoupage a bowl. The lighter weight the paper, the better the finish you're going to get. So to get back to where I started, I created a whole set of prints. I used a small selection of colours and stencils, just so that what I'd got, I knew they were going to be complementary and work well together. And so I've just made myself a whole selection of different prints, hoping that I've got enough surface area to cover this platter that I'm decoupaging today. And as you can see, some prints are more interesting than others, but at the end of the day, they're going to be torn up, cut up into smaller pieces. It's going to be an abstract sort of collage background. So I've got these blues and greens for my background, but I've then also done a couple of prints in pinks, reds, orange as a contrast, and they're going to be my focal image on the finished item. I've also got some white paint off to the side here, where we'll come to that in a bit. So if you've got some white paint or gesso, get some of that. I've got my decoupage medium today. This is the Decor Americana Decoupage Matte. You can use Mod Podge, you can use a matte medium. You could use a watered down PVA at a push. I don't always recommend a watered down PVA for decoupage, but there are lots of decoupage mediums on the market, easy to get hold of, inexpensive. And I've got a paintbrush. This is one that I do use for decoupage a lot. The bristles are getting all gummed up at the bottom. Don't ruin a really decent paintbrush. So for now, I'm going to move my pink and orange prints to one side. Don't need those yet. I'm going to take my blue and green ones, which is what I'm going to layer onto the platter, and I'm going to begin decoupaging I will mention this is a pale colour. This is like an ivory colour. If this was dark, I would give it a coat of white paint or a couple of coats of white paint or gesso before I start, simply because this deli paper has transparency to it. And if this was a dark background, it would sort of deaden the colours. But this is perfectly pale enough for me. I'm happy to layer these prints on here, but just bear that in mind. But as I said, we will be coming to using some white paint in a bit. But in order to decoupage this, I'm going to tear areas of my print and then just apply decoupage medium to the platter and cover, making sure that I'm overlapping edges so that I don't have any of this showing through. So I'll pop that onto a speeded up session, put a bit of music on, because, you know, it's quite self-explanatory and straightforward.
I remember the day when we started talking. We were kids and I knocked down all of your mobiles, but you did not seem to mind at all. We took our bikes to the lake after school each day and skipped many stones from the beach. And one thing you said was, listen, I will have your back away. And now we're grown up, I don't really see you enough. There's too much to be done. Yeah, it's no fun. But even if we're far apart, I know where we belong. Haven't changed a bit in my heart. Your words have never been wrong. You are my own safety zone. You're solid like a granite stone. It came very sudden the day when we moved away from what had been our home since forever. I was scared then, so scared that I would lose you. But you called me up right after I touched the ground. You wanted to hear that I got there all safe and sound, and you said, I know we're gonna stay the same. And now we're grown up, I don't really see you enough. There's too much to be done. Yeah, it's no fun. But even if we're far apart, I know where we belong. Haven't changed a bit in my heart. Your words have never been wrong. You are my own safety zone. You're solid like a granite stone.
Once you've covered the whole area of whatever it is that you're decoupaging, just set it aside to dry. Now, if you're wondering what to do about the edges, as you can see here, I've left my edges rough. I've gone over the edge, I've sort of stuck it down. I'm going to trim that with a knife once it's dry. Let it dry completely, otherwise it's just going to shred if you try and cut it or trim it now. And I'm going to finish this with a little bit of gilding wax or something, so it will blend in any sort of rough edges where this ends and the actual untreated the underside where there's no decoupages. So it'll just finish it all off. You could go around it with some paint, things like that. I mean, if it is that you want to cover both, if you're doing a bowl and you want to do the inside and the outside, then you will obviously take this right the way over. Once this is dry, you'd flip it over and you'd do the other side. But I'm not going to decorate the underside of this. I'm not going to see it, so I'm going to let this dry and trim it all off. I'm not too concerned that I've got a few crinkles and wrinkles. That's not going to notice when we're all finished, but I do need to go and let this dry for now. So while our background is drying, I'm going to turn my attention to these prints that I've got here that I want to use for my focal decoration. And because this is a translucent paper, this deli paper. This is where the white acrylic comes in handy, because I'm going to brayer some white acrylic onto the back of these prints, because my base layer is dark blues and greens and purples, and I don't want that to affect the colour of this. I want these to stand out brightly. So by putting some white paint on the back, hopefully it'll give this a little bit more opacity without making it any thicker or heavier, and I'll get a much better contrast when I come to layer these on. So quite simply, I'm just going to pop a little bit of paint on and brayer it over the back. Just adding a little bit more as I need. I don't want too much. So now that this white acrylic paint that I've put on the back is dried, you can see that it provides a lot more opacity. There is still a little translucency, but much better than it was without. So that should allow these colours to stand out better on my background. And the design that I've chosen to do on this plate is a simple, almost like a fern leaf, just a fronded leaf design. So I've gone ahead and cut myself some templates out of a scrap of paper. And I've decided that this is basically how I want my leaves arranged. I want there to be a central stem running through them, but that's how I want them. I've just numbered them so that when I take them off, I know where to put them back on again. I've got a little sketch in a notebook to the side so that I can rearrange them properly. I have not provided this template for you simply because whatever surface you're going to be working on may well be a completely different shape or size to what I'm using here. So it would be pointless me saying, cut these out and use these. If you're working on something much smaller, then this design is going to be too big. But as you can see, these leaves are just a simple ellipse shape, really simple shape. Just sort of sketch out how you on a scrap of paper what you think you might want to use, cut out some bits, just rearrange them. This gives you the option to play without cutting into your prints. So what I'm going to do is pop these onto my prints, draw around them, cut out, and then I will be ready to arrange back on this plate again where I want them. Before I do actually do that though, I want to mark in the central stem, because I'm going to be doing that in gold, but I want, if I make the line with a pencil or a pen, just so that I've got something to work against when I'm placing these leaves, and then I can add the gold afterwards.
I remember the day when we started talking. We were kids and I knocked down all of your mobiles, but you did not seem to mind at all. We took our bikes to the lake after school each day and skipped many stones from the beach, and one thing you said was, listen, I will have your back always. And now we're grown up, I don't really see you enough. There's too much to be done, yeah, it's no fun. But even if we're far apart, I know where we belong. Haven't changed a bit in my heart. Your words have never been wrong.
So that's my arrangement of leaves. That's where I want them to go. and really like them. But before I pop them on, I want to add some gold detailing. I just want to add a little something to lift and brighten this. Now you don't have to, you can just collage this on with your decoupage medium again, as we did the background, and that's absolutely fine. You could go around the edge with a paint pen or a marker pen. You could use like a metallic marker if you wanted to, but metallic markers, although they do have a slight sheen to them, I wanted something more shiny than that, something brighter. So I'm going to be using some transfer foil, which easily applied with some glue. You can buy sort of like gold leaf size glues specifically for use with foils and glitters, but I found a way of doing really nice, just more detailed areas, is to use one of these Zig two-way pens, glue pens. Now these pens, they're like a marker pen. Then you can get them in with different tips on. You can get them with finer tips or chunkier tips on. And the glue comes out, it's a pale blue colour when it comes out, so you can see where it is, but it dries clear. Now if I was to pop some of this on a piece of paper and then stick another piece of paper on it, it would act like a normal glue. If I put some of this down and then let it dry, it becomes what they class as a temporary bond. So basically it dries to a tacky finish, so that you can stick something down, but you could reposition it. But that makes it absolutely ideal for adding transfer foils, because you glue those down with a glue that dries to a tacky finish. So I'm going to apply some of this down where the stem's going to be and let it dry. Let it dry to its tacky finish, wait till it goes clear, and then apply the transfer foils. But I'm also going to go around the edge of these leaves with it as well. And again, let this glue go dry to its tacky finish and press the transfer foils on. So in order to do this, I just want to get a scrap piece of paper down on my table. And I'm going to begin by edging around these leaves. So I'm just going to take each leaf and take this chisel tip and just take it round the edge of the shape.
You are my own safety zone. You're solid like a granite stone. It came very sudden the day when we moved away from what had been our home since forever. I was scared then, so scared that I would lose you. But you called me up right after I touched the ground. You wanted to hear that I got there all safe and sound, and you said, I know we're gonna stay.
Now at this point, the first couple of leaves that we did should be dried to the tacky finish. And you can kind of tell the difference. They've got a sheen to them, but they don't look like super wet like they did before. And then what we do is we take our transfer foil, and you can do that if you've got like proper gold leaf or the metal flakes, you can do it with those as well. But I do like the super shiny finish that you get with this. And you pop it so that the side that you want to see is face up, and pop it down onto the now tacky glue and rub it down, and then peel it away, and the foil sticks to the tacky glue. And you continue working until you've covered all the area that's got the glue on it. Once you've finished doing that, it's time to stick these leaves down. So I'm going to just use my decoupage medium again. and just pop down some of the medium where I want to stick this down. And just lightly pressing this down with my brush.
I don't really see you enough. There's too much to be done. Yeah, it's no fun. But even if we're far apart, I know.
I'm going to let that dry. While it's drying, I'm going to go around the edge with some gilding wax. This is actually the Pebeo brand gilding polish. I've just got it in a smaller tub. I'm just going to apply that with my finger around the edge. And that'll just disguise where I've trimmed away the excess paper, and just tie in with that gold highlighting that we've done on the printing. And give the gilding polish just a couple of moments, and then I just buff away any excess and just polish it up with a cloth. This is just like a kitchen cloth. And once that's all dry, I mean, you're finished. You can, if you want to make this more hard wearing, once it's completely dry, go over the whole surface again with another coat or two of the decoupage medium. You could put like a spray sealant, whether it be a matte or a gloss one, over the top as well. I mean, you could, something like this. It will just give it a little bit more extra protection against knocks, depending on what you're doing with it. If it's going to be hung on the wall, then it's not really going to get much damage done to it. If it's going to be more of a practical thing, maybe you might be putting things in it, or it's going to be moved or knocked, you might want a couple more layers of a sealant or decoupage medium on there. But I'm going to call this one done for now. For me, I'm going to decide, I think I might be hanging this on the wall. But it's really nice, really pleased with those gold highlights, the gold around the edge as well here. I love the contrast of the orange on the green, but I like also the selection of patterns. They all work together to create this sort of cohesive background, but you can still see the individual differences in the prints, and I'm really, really pleased with how it's turned out. So I hope that this has shown you again something that you can do with your prints. This sort of thing would be ideal for a Christmas gift. You could do this on a wooden box, on a storage, pencil pots, things like that. You could indeed even do this on things like if you've got old mugs or terracotta plant pots, obviously for indoor use, but they would be great then to pop on the desk and put some bits and pieces in, store your pens and paintbrushes and things like that in them. So lots of ideas for using prints on lightweight papers for decoupaging and creating a piece of home decor. But as always, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. And as always, I'll link my playlist of gel plate videos in the end screen. Please go and check that out if you haven't done before. Lots of different ideas for using different media and different ways of using your prints there. But for now, that's all. Bye.
Where we belong, haven't changed a bit in my heart.